Good morning. This is Trish, the president of the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, and we'll get started in just a minute as everybody starts to log on here. So if you sorry for our little delay, little technical issues this morning, but if you can just bear with us for a second, we'll get started when the attendees have started to come in. So good morning. As I mentioned, my name is Trish McFarland from the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, and we are delighted to bring you another part in our webinar series. Today we're talking about loans and grants, and I know we'll have a lot of questions. Just wanted to give you a quick overview of logistics. We will have all of the panelists speak. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A or the chat box, whichever you're more comfortable with, and we will answer them. We'll direct them at the end. And if your question is not answered, we will post it to the blog following the following this webinar this morning on bringingbackdelco.com. And we will also be putting this on YouTube. So if you know any other businesses that might need this information, please direct them to YouTube. We will also have that on bringingbackdelco.com as well. So at this point, I would like to introduce County Councilwoman Elaine Schaefer. Elaine, thank you for being with us this morning, and we're delighted to have you.
Thank you, Trish. I'm very happy to be here. It was quite a challenge to get on today, but I did it. I just wanted to say hello to everyone and thank you all for being here today. I see there are 75 people attending, so that's great. You know, this webinar is part of a larger effort that is a combined effort partnership between the county, our Commerce Center, of course, the Delco Chamber of Commerce, and then a task force of many, many stakeholders who are all working together to try to come up with some help, some support for our businesses to navigate from red to yellow and now next week to green. So this is one of many things that we're doing. There have been some other webinars and there will be others coming. We've also worked on putting a website together that is hosted by the Chamber that has some really great resources, some examples of guidelines, some posters that you can put up in your business. It's a very helpful resource for you to look at as the guidelines continue to change. We've also instituted some pretty big grant programs that the Commerce Center and the Chamber and the Delaware County Foundation are helping us administer, investing about almost $20 million, actually more than $20 million into our small businesses through grant funding, which is a big lift, more than most of our neighbors have done in the neighboring counties. But we're also trying to help in little ways. And on that front, we have the business kits that we have put together and that the Chamber is helping give out on next Monday and Tuesday. And I want to just put a plug in for that program because it's sort of last call for those kits. Those are PPE kits for businesses to help you get started as you reopen with some of the really difficult things to get. And you can still sign up to get them now through the weekend, and then Monday and Tuesday are the distribution. And believe me, you're still going to need them in the green phase, so go ahead and pick them up. But with that, I will say thank you to the Chamber and to everyone else who's participating in this. I can't wait to hear this webinar because I myself am confused about all of the different grant sources, and I know that everyone else out there is as well. So thanks a lot.
Elaine, thank you so much. So first up on our agenda this morning, we have Patrick Killian and Laura Goodrich Cairns from the Delaware County Commerce Center. Patrick, Laura, thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Trish, and thank you for hosting this. Thank the Chamber for all that you've done working together as we go through an inexplicable time for the business community. I can't tell you folks anything that you don't know. Delaware County had an unemployment rate of shy of 4% in December. As of May 31st this year, we are at 14.8%. The devastation of the community has just been incredible. But there's always some good news, and the good news is everybody has come together locally and regionally to move forward and make sure we're moving in the right direction to assist our small and medium-sized businesses, and in fact, all of our businesses. There's an old saying that you can't rock the boat if you're rowing it. Well, everybody's rowing it together, and everybody's rowing in the same direction. Again, I thank the Chamber, the incredible assistance the County Council has been, and the money that the county is putting forward for the business community is just probably the largest in the collar counties, and deeply appreciated. Sam Rhoads from PIDC, one of our neighboring agencies down in the city, it's indicative of the fact that all the counties have been working together. We meet weekly on an economic development side, they meet daily on a governmental side to ensure, again, that we're all moving in the same direction to assist our community, and they are. What Delaware County did initially was created the Delco Strong One program, which was for the smaller businesses that had revenues in less than $4.5 million. We've given them grants of $7,500 to cover capital working expenses as a lifeline to keep them alive for what we thought would be a shorter shutdown than it is. We're going at 3.5 months. Initially, we had enough money to fund with the contributions from the Redevelopment Authority, about 200 of the over 1,000 applicants, 800 of which were qualified, but not fund the others. Delaware County, again, came forward in a very big way and put an additional $6 million into it to allow us to fund all of the applicants, all of the qualified applicants. We're about midway through the dispersal process on that, and just earlier this week, County Council approved Delco Strong 2, which is a second round of funding, both for businesses that have $4.5 million in revenue or less, and businesses that have $9 million in revenue or less. And, which makes us unusual compared to the other counties, we are assisting nonprofit entities with the assistance and partnership of the Delaware County Foundation. That program will go live in a week. The architects of the program, and as I call her, my Rowdy Yates, if you're old enough to remember Rawhide, who was the Ramrod, played by Clint Eastwood, is Laura. Okay, Laura, stop shaking your head. Is Laura Goodrich Cairns, who can give you the specifics of the program. But again, this call and many calls put together by the Chamber, I think, are indicative of the comfort level the business community should have with everything that the county, everything that volunteers like Bob Simpson, Tony Truehart and her group, Sam from Steve Byrne, who's keeping our hospitality businesses going. We're all working together. We're all moving together in the right direction. And Delco is strong because Delco is united. So thank you, Laura. I'll hand it over to you for the specifics, as usual.
I want to start, I just want to touch on Delco Strong One. I know there's a lot of questions about where we are in process with that, and we haven't sort of discussed that publicly, but because that is still ongoing, it is anticipated by the end of next week that every applicant will know where they stand with that program. We're at, as Patrick mentioned, we're at the 50% mark with that. We had some, it's a great program. We tried to make that as simplistic as possible. We had some complications in that the Redevelopment Authority wanted an emphasis on the CDBG eligible areas, which required manual review. And then also with the additional funding coming in, it sort of shook up our initial process to a different structure. But we are in process of dispersing funds out of that program right now, and we are committed to making sure every applicant knows where they stand on that first program by the end of next week. With Delco Strong 2, we are also simplifying yet again this program. This will not have the same constraint. It won't be the same program as Delco Strong 1. The only thing that they're going to share is the name. There's not going to be a focus on CDBG eligible areas. It is county-wide. Their home-based businesses in this round will be eligible for this program. The key dates for this will be on June 24th. The program guidelines will be posted on our website, including the application questionnaire. And then 2 weeks later, on July 7th, the application opening for this round will begin. So every single Delaware County entity will have approximately 2 weeks to digest the information, understand what we're looking for, understand what's required to submit a full and complete application for Delco Strong 2 and then make that submission. We also changed the application window on the for-profit side from 24, but last time it was about 24 to 36 hours. What we are going to do this round is have that web portal open for a straight 3 days. We're also going to have a technical assistance email. So if somebody's having issues with the technology, which we're also upgrading for the online portal submission this round, you will be able to email tech support for some additional assistance during those 3 days. We will still also accept paper drop-off, but that paper drop-off will not be at the county. It'll be at our offices out front. That will be limited in hours just because we're not here 24 hours a day. But additional information, again, on how to submit that application, either in paper or electronic form, will be posted on June 24th. As well, the nonprofits in Delaware County will be invited to join the foundation's grant portal to start initiating their application for Delco Strong 2 for that $4 million. Their portal will be open for 2 weeks. That's their normal process in order to be able to allow their applicants to build an application and submit. So both of these entities, the for-profits and nonprofits, will be incurring at the same time but have different schedules. And we're going to try and make that as clear as day, because I'm sure I sound as clear as mud right now. This fund is going to be $10 million for the for-profit side. And what we are going to do is focus in on the entities that are headquartered in Delaware County. They do not exceed revenue of $9 million annually. They must have an economic loss due to COVID-19. The businesses with substantial economic loss due to COVID-19, they will also focus on the businesses that were not allowed to operate in yellow or red phases. Businesses that are either minority, women, or veteran owned will also get preference in this round. We are looking at those industries that are hardest hit: the retail, the hospitality, the eds and meds, the agriculture, manufacturing, and service industries. So for that complete application, there will be an application questionnaire. We are asking for the full copy of the 2019 federal and state business tax return. If you file by a Schedule C or Schedule F, we will ask for the owner's full personal tax return and a full copy of the owner's 2019 both federal and state, sorry. If you don't have the 2019 yet, we're asking for the 2018 and a P&L for 2019. In addition, we'll also be asking for a 2020 P&L to date, either through May or through June. And then I saw that there was a question about entities that haven't been operating long. If you haven't been in existence long enough in order to have filed a tax return, we will still accept your application. You will, have to submit a P&L and also your articles of incorporation. The use of grant funding will be in order to cover working capital costs necessary to maintain the business through the COVID-19 disruption. You will have to self-certify that to operate, and also any kind of costs associated with items needed in order to operate safely and meet the public health requirements. That is just a general overview, but basically we're bringing it down to the tax return, folks, for that for this round. And basically, if you are 4.5 million in revenue or under, you would be eligible for a $10,000 grant. Between 4.5 million in revenue up to 9 million, we're going to make you eligible for a $20,000 grant. Those applicants in round one who are successfully funded, we're also providing a boost. Those applicants, once the round is complete, will be notified, and they will receive a $2,500 boost, every last one of them, to cover continual additional losses and also to provide additional funding for any necessary gear needed in order to comply with public health requirements going forward in order to operate. With that, I think that basically covers it, Trish, for us.
Thank you, Laura. And I'll remind folks, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A or the chat, and we will have them answered as we move along. Now we are going to move along to Sam Rhoads from PIDC. Sam is the Executive Vice President and Senior Vice President of Financial Services. Sam, thanks for being with us this morning.
Trish, thank you very much. Yes, I'm Sam Rhoads at PIDC, and I appreciate very much the Chamber and Trish for putting this together. I am your neighbor from the north, and I can say at the outset, I have enjoyed for many years working side by side with Patrick and with Laura at the Commerce Center, working together on issues of economic development. As the Philadelphia region rises and falls, we rise and fall together, and we've been working side by side for a long time, and I very much value that partnership. So thanks, and thanks for bringing us in. I wanted to speak for a couple of minutes to the Pennsylvania Small Business Grant Program. I'll go into the background and the details a little bit, but there's one take-home message that I'll repeat at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. So if you're taking notes, this is a program that is still under development. We expect to go live within the next couple of weeks. Because of that, and because the governor's already announced it, there's a fair amount of confusion. That's just by virtue of the fact that it's been announced and it hasn't gone live yet. So details are still being ironed out. So keep in mind that we expect it to go live in the next couple of weeks. And there is a single website that you all ought to go on. And again, I'll repeat this in the beginning, the middle, and the end. But pabusinessgrants.com is a single website that's been stood up. And you ought to go onto that. You can subscribe for alerts, and that will keep you alerted as to when the program does go live, and any details that continue to be ironed out. So with that, on June 8th, the governor announced the program. It's a $225 million program, so it's a really substantial chunk of funds. Although once you divide that up across the entire Commonwealth, it goes quickly, but it's a substantial chunk of funds. It's being funded out of the CARES Act. So this is a portion of the $2.6 billion that Pennsylvania is getting out of the federal CARES Act. Of that $225 million that was announced, $100 million is for, and they're all targeted towards, $200 million of the 225 is targeted towards grants to small businesses. $100 million of it in what's being called the Main Street Business Revitalization Program, and a second $100 million that's targeted to historically disadvantaged businesses, businesses with more than 51% ownership and management control from historically disadvantaged companies. The remaining $25 million is targeted towards CDFIs, and I'll get into that in a second in terms of what that is, if that's a mysterious term to you. But $25 million is targeted towards them for loan loss reserves and managing loan forbearances through the COVID process. The administration of the program is being managed by the Pennsylvania CDFI network in partnership with DCED. And I apologize for throwing acronyms at you. DCED is Pennsylvania's Department of Community and Economic Development. That's the organization that Pat and Laura and myself work with primarily in terms of economic development dollars across the Commonwealth. And CDFI stands for Community Development Finance Institutions. These organizations are nonprofit, mission-based lenders that tend to focus on low-income communities. They are authorized by the U.S. Department of Treasury and certified as CDFIs. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, there's a coalition of 17 different CDFIs that got together to work with DCED and the governor to create this program. Within that network of 17 CDFIs across the Commonwealth, 9 of them have been identified as working in Delaware County and with an ability to serve the Delaware County businesses. Again, that can be a source of confusion. And I come back again to there's a single website that you can go on to pabusinessgrants.com. And if you do not have a pre-existing relationship with one of those CDFIs, then you can go onto that and get linked up to them. As I said, the details of the program are yet to be finalized. The CDFI community is working feverishly with DCED to work it through, but we do expect the program to get finalized and up and running in the next couple of weeks. There are a couple of, in the meantime, I can give you some background in terms of what is known about the program with a giant caveat. Everything that I say is subject to change until the program's finalized, but these are our basic understandings of the outlines of the program. The grants will range from $5,000 to $50,000, so it will cap out at $50,000. Eligible businesses will have under $1 million in revenue and under 25 employees. So this truly is targeted to the small business community. There's a couple of don'ts in there. For obvious reasons, you need to be current on your Pennsylvania taxes. I don't think the Commonwealth wants to be providing grants if you're not current on your taxes. This is also a program that's targeted to the for-profit small business community. It's not for nonprofits, religious organizations, financial services organizations, private clubs, what we call sin businesses, which I guess we know when we see it, and lobbying firms are not eligible. Again, all of this is subject to further definition, but as general categories, those are businesses that will likely not be eligible under this. The businesses have to have been impacted by COVID, and the grant will be used to remediate or cover COVID-related costs. So this is intended to help the small businesses carry through this period and to reopen as we hit the restart phase. The grant size from $5,000 to $50,000 will likely be tiered based on your revenues. So the closer you are to that $1 million revenue size, the closer you are to the $50,000 cap. But we expect it to be tiered in that way. One of the most important things to know about this program is some lessons were learned in terms of how the earlier COVID business relief programs were operated. This is not a first come, first serve program. So you do not need to hit the panic button yet. We expect to open the round for a round of applications and have that open for a period of, again, to be determined, a week or two. You have that period to enter in your applications, and then based on sort of scoring mechanism, you'll be evaluated as a batch. So we wanted to not recreate the panic sense that happened in the early days of the PPP program, for example, where people were rushing in. There is another important thing to understand is that there's a single application process. There's going to be a single back end to how all of this is managed. We're partnering with Lendistry.com. Lendistry is also a CDFI. They're an online nationwide CDFI, and the CDFIs have come together to have Lendistry manage the back end of the applications. There are multiple doors into that application process. And again, that's where some of the confusion happens. There's 17 CDFIs, 9 of whom serve Delaware County. It essentially does not matter which door you come into. You're ending up in the same place with Lendistry.com evaluating your application. If you have an existing relationship with one of the CDFIs, then absolutely you should work with them and apply through their website. However, you can go through anyone, and again, the central website of pabusinessgrants.com will get you there as well, even if you don't have a relationship with a specific CDFI. You can get, the application process is really intended to be simple. Again, details to be provided, but you should have, while we're waiting for the program to go live, I would encourage you to get your house in order. You should have your most recent year tax returns, 2018 or 2019, prepared. That will likely be a requirement. If you have interim financial statements, you should have those at the ready. A bank statement or your EIN number with your EIN number and or corporate name should be on it so they understand who the borrower is. They'll need a photo ID. And I think it's always good, if you haven't done so already, it's always good practice to take this time to, in a narrative way, think through how has COVID impacted your business? What are your plans in terms of digging out of it? both at a narrative and in a numbers sense. So everything you can do to prepare, even though this is not first come, first serve, so there doesn't need to be that rush, you ought to take this time to prepare for those applications. When it does go live, there will be opportunities for technical assistance. Either through lendistry.com or through one of the CDFIs. I'm joined here by Tony Truehart, who's with Entrepreneur Works, who is one of those CDFIs that serves Delaware County. And Tony, I don't know whether you're planning to speak to that, but there will be assistance either with Lendistry, the central entity, or the individual CDFIs to help hold your hand through the application process if you need that. So that's it. A grant program for very small businesses, $1 million and under, $5,000 to $50,000 grants, all related to COVID impact. There'll be a single application process. We expect it to go live in a couple of weeks. And please do keep your eyes and ears open at pabusinessgrants.com for information. There's a place there where you can subscribe for alerts, and I would encourage you to do that so that if you're not hearing it through the chamber or our Pat or Laura, you can get it directly from that site as to when it goes live and what the actual details are. Thanks.
Sam, thank you so much. Full of information. And again, if anybody missed anything, we will be posting this on YouTube so you can follow along and come back and hear what Sam says. So now we'd like to move along to Rob from the Small Business Administration. Rob, are you with us?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep, thank you.
Perfect. So I apologize for there being no video. I still have not managed to get my government laptop's video to work at all for the entire quarantine. So,
well, we appreciate you being here with us.
You're probably better off not seeing me anyway, I guess. So just to give a little bit of context, anybody who doesn't already know who SBA is, we're the agency responsible for providing support to small businesses. We're the only agency whose sole mission is to help small businesses start, grow, and succeed. Just to give you a little context, the additional context, the Eastern Pennsylvania District Office covers the eastern 40 counties. Obviously, Delco is part of that. I'm wondering if that's my end or your end.
Nope, you're all good. Took care of that, sorry.
No worries. So across the state, there are about 1.1 million small businesses, and more than 99.6% of all Pennsylvania businesses are small. They employ, well, this is obviously prior to the pandemic, 2.5 million people. It's about 46% of the entire state's private workforce. So in terms of how much of an effect all of this is having, when you're talking about 14 and 16% unemployment, you can see that a lot of that is being driven because of the impact on the small businesses of Pennsylvania. Our district I've never seen anything like this. These are things that we have expanded our mission to adapt to, and we've changed things, and we've introduced entire new programs. Probably everybody on this phone call has heard about them, but I want to give you a little bit of an idea of what's, of the story so far, if you will. Under the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which you're going to hear me call EIDL about 10 times probably in the next couple of minutes, direct loans from the SBA go to small businesses. That's kind of a two-part program now, because there's a loan advance portion that's based on the number of employees. So if you apply for an economic disaster loan, economic injury disaster loan, there's a little box you can check for an advance. What that basically does is, based on the number of employees, you get $1,000 of forgiveness of that loan based on the number of employees, up to 10 or more employees, at which point it caps at $10,000. That program is open right now. It has been closed at various times. At one point, it was open only to agricultural businesses, but it's completely open now. Just in terms of how much use these loans have had, and I mean, there's been 105,000 EIDL advances, which a lot of people refer to as grants, but because I work for the government, we have very specific definitions of those things. I have to call that an advance on a loan. But 105,000 of those for $351 million just through direct SBA loan vehicles, if you will, that vehicle. Pennsylvania small businesses, nonprofits, and ag businesses, as well as faith-based organizations, to date, roughly have received over 38,000 EIDL loans for over $2.5 billion. So the EIDL, that $351 million, is free money essentially. It's the EIDL advance that is forgiven. And then overall, there's been 38,000 loans for $2.5 billion. The terms on those are 3.75% for small businesses, 2.75 for nonprofits. If you have not applied for a disaster loan at this point, don't even be on this call with me. Just go to www.sba.gov/disaster and go do that right now. That's probably the best use of your time at this moment. It takes about 15 minutes. We've seen even more loans and loan dollars in the Paycheck Protection Program, which Sam referred to a little bit earlier. Pennsylvania is ranked as 6th among the states for both the number of loans made and the the amount of dollars loaned as well right now. So we've seen more than 158,000 loans for more than $20.5 billion. And the PPP program is also still available through participating SBA lenders. So you would go to your bank or your lender to access that if you didn't already know that. Probably the thing that's interesting to me is that Pennsylvania has managed to get to 6th place in both categories, loans, total loan numbers and total dollars, which is really strange because there's 50 states, and I'm pretty sure there are a couple that would normally be ahead of us in this pack. But I attribute that to the quick application process for the disaster loan process. I attribute the PPP program, to how engaged our lenders are, because all of those are done through our lending partners. Just also to let you know, all of our regular programs and services are still there. There's technical assistance from resource partners. Lending and contract program assistance continues as well. In that bucket, in the most recent full fiscal year we have, because obviously this fiscal year is really wonky, we made 1,285 small business loans for $449.3 million in the 7A loan program, to just give you an idea. So a year's worth of one of the highest levels of lending our agency has ever done in the Eastern Pennsylvania district doesn't quite get to where we are just on the disaster loan program side. It's one of the things that was thrown out early in all of this discussion, when all of this stuff was really just getting into high gear. I heard that one of the things that I heard is this is the equivalent of making in 14 days as much lending as we've done, period, ever. So it's been a really huge undertaking. And on the 504 side, our certified development corporations made 75 loans for $68 million. So those are all things that are in the regular program bucket. And last year, federal contracting was a big deal for us. There were 95,000 federal contracts issued in the state of Pennsylvania to small businesses. The bottom line, I guess, that I'm trying to convey here is that we're implementing some of the largest programs my agency has ever undertaken. We're still, right now, we literally revamped the entire "here's what this program looks like" PowerPoint presentation twice in the last 3 days. So these things are very much subject to change. And the reason for that is because this is such an unprecedented thing. Everybody says unprecedented, and I think that even I kind of got immune to hearing that word. But what that really means is this is something that we don't have a roadmap for. We don't really know what the playbook should be, and we're building it as we're driving it and we're executing it. And as additional legislation is coming along to make sure that we get things done as fast as possible and get relief to people as fast as possible. But at the same time, everything that I've seen about these programs, it has expanded things and made it easier and whether it was the website itself, whether it was the PPP loan process, whether it was the terms even for a lot of things, especially the forgiveness piece. So basically you've got three things on the COVID-19 side. There's because the EIDL program basically breaks down into the advance portion and then the loan portion. And then the next piece of it is the PPP program, which the first two you access by just going to sba.gov/disaster. And then the other piece is you go directly to probably the bank that you do business with, because most banks at this point are signed up to do PPP loans. But as always, we're here for small businesses. I know that during difficult times like these, you kind of start to look around and go, well, how do I get through this? What's next? And the only thing I can tell you is we are all kind of in the same boat and rowing as fast as we can. And SBA continues to focus on helping small businesses get what they need to help drive the economic prosperity of, Delaware County and everywhere else in Pennsylvania. I think how's that?
Perfect. Rob, thank you so much for joining us and all of that information. We truly appreciate your diligence and sharing that with us. So now, and I'll remind everybody, as I've been doing so far, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A, and we will answer them. We'll either answer them in the web chat, or if it can't be answered this morning, we will put it on our blog and have all of the Q&A and frequently asked questions there as well. So now we're going to move along. We're going to move to Brinker Simpson, who has been following all of these intricacies in the loans and the grants throughout this, and they've been having a number of webinars. So Bob and Kristen, can you share with us some of the information that you have found, some of the things that you've been working on, and some of the hurdles that the businesses have been facing the most, and the questions that you're hearing? I'm gonna unmute you. There you go.
Thank you, Trish, for including us, and thank you, Elaine, for getting us on your panel today. And I appreciate all the experts here in the field. So PPP loan, which is a loan that we're hoping becomes a grant through the forgiveness process, came out actually on March the 27th as part of the CARES Act, and it was a 8-week payroll restoration loan that was designed to keep people employed and keep them off unemployment. SBA and Treasury Department found out that that didn't work as well, and a lot of business owners were able to comment to get changes in the program, and changes are actually still coming. They actually came yesterday. And all the changes that are coming out, I have to give SBA and Treasury Department a lot of credit, or have all been favorable changes to help get this loan forgiven. As Rob had said, this is a program that goes through your bank. It is still open. There is still $100 billion uncommitted at this point. Banks are accepting applications for PPP. The program closes on June 30th. Banks have told me they need 3 days to process the loans, so you have to get into them now. We are actually putting 2 of them through for our clients today. So there is plenty of money left to go out there. So anybody who hasn't applied yet, who does qualify, should apply. And who qualifies is really anybody who has faced economic uncertainties due to the pandemic period. So it's a very broad definition of anybody who qualifies. It was an 8-week program where 75% of your loan proceeds had to be spent on payroll and 25% were able to be spent on other expenses like rent, utilities, interest, and transportation costs. Payroll was limited to $15,385 per person, which was really 8 weeks of payroll of anybody who made $100,000 or above. And then on June the 6th, the PPP Flexibility Act was signed, and that really revamped the entire program and made it much easier for companies to apply for forgiveness. So it created almost a second tier of PPP forgiveness, expanded the 8-week period to a 24-week period. It's an automatic expansion unless you elect to apply for forgiveness in the original 8-week period, which you can do if you meet the criteria, which is a little bit tighter in that period. So if you're good after 8 weeks, 8 weeks from the date you received your money, or 8 weeks after from the date of your first payroll after you received the money, if you qualify for forgiveness in that 8-week period, as of June 30th, you can submit your application to be forgiven. If you need more time to do that, and a lot of companies, most companies that we're dealing with need more time, you have a 24-week automatic extension to spend your money in those areas. The 75% requirement on payroll was reduced down to 60% on payroll. So you must spend 60% of your loan proceeds on payroll costs. And payroll costs include health insurance, part of a group health plan. They include retirement benefits paid for your employees, and they include state unemployment taxes paid by the company for your employees. These are all company costs. There's a lot of limitations with owners of corporations and LLC members and sole proprietors that you have to be aware of, that you don't get full deduction for some of those costs. So the 75% went down to 60%, the 8 weeks went to 24%, and the payroll limit that was $15,385 has been raised to $46,000 per employee and $20,833 per owner, which really provides a real large window for people that are extending through the 24-week period. You need to restore your head count that you had in place either from a certain period of 2019 or the beginning of 2020. So you have to have as many full-time equivalent employees during the forgiveness period as you had during that period. That was tough for companies who weren't open, or companies that were restricted or constricted by COVID. So relief came in the PPPFA, where you can, if employees were let go for cause, if employees voluntarily left, if they were reoffered their jobs to come back but they refused, or if those jobs were just impossible to fill, you can remove them from the restoration of your head count in the computation. There's also a very subjective definition to relief, safe harbor relief, in the FA Act. So if your business cannot be restored to the level of business that had on February 15th during this forgiveness period, then that lack of business was caused by COVID, by government action, or by the result of other actions that did not allow your business to open during these periods, then you can remove the restoration of headcount and the restoration of payroll from your forgiveness application altogether. A lot of questions come out with that. If you're a restaurant, obviously you haven't been open in PA. You may have had takeout and things, but you haven't restored your business to that. But what if you're a food supplier, or what if you're a linen company who relies on restaurants? So there's some subjectivity in that definition, but our advice to our clients and people is always err on your favor and hope for forgiveness based on those errors until there's more clarity that comes out from SBA or Treasury. So those are big items. There's $100 billion left in the program. There's also a pending program that came out yesterday called P4. And P4 is it's in the Senate right now. It's a $25 billion program for companies that have less than 100 employees who have suffered a 50% loss in revenue. So it's a very restricted program for those companies that were really closed during this period. So there's a lot of changes that are continuing to come out here, and our goal is to get forgiveness, so turn these loans into grants. Rob had mentioned this goes through your bank. So in March, we announced it was Love Your Banker Week to get these loans through. Now it's become Love Your Banker Quarter, and it's certainly going to become Love Your Banker for the rest of the year. I read a stat yesterday in the Journal that said 44% of the PPP applicants did not know their banker's name. So it's very important that you're close to your banker, and it's very important that your banker works with you to get this program going. And especially banks are going to have the first line of scrutiny with the forgiveness applications, which are very complicated applications still. So you want to make sure that when you go to forgiveness, if you're ready to apply, that you supply them with very clear documentation, show where your numbers came from, make it very easy for your banker to get through that application and get it back to SBA so SBA can grant the forgiveness as well. Very confusing program, but certainly starting to work the way it was designed to work from the beginning. And I know through our client base has really saved a lot of the companies over this 90-day period. Thank you. And any questions, throw them in there and we'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate you going in depth for us on that. Now I'm going to move along to Antoinette Truehart. Tony, thanks for being with us this morning. And you have a couple of the loans specific to Upper Darby and Chester. Oh, we're gonna. All right, hold on. I think. Can you unmute yourself? I don't know if I can.
There we go.
Thanks for being with us. There we go. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the invitation to be a part of this panel, to share the information, and so happy to sit with all of my esteemed colleagues. So what we are working with, has been mentioned by my colleague at PIDC. We're a part of the state coalition that are working with the state program, but we're also working more locally in the county, more specifically with the city of Chester and also Upper Darby Township. So the mayors of both of those municipalities have decided to create a grant program that will help the small businesses within their municipality. So I will share some information about both, but the overview on both programs is we are working with both of them. They are finalizing the detail, all of the details of the program. They're waiting for their approvals through HUD. They are using the funds that they are getting through the CARES Act, through CDBG, to use on these programs. So both of them are, the proposed start dates are looking at the beginning of July, but again, that will be finalized shortly. And we will make sure that as soon as that's done, we will get that information out to the county as well as to the chamber, and we'll be posting it on our site as well. So just an overview of both programs. I'll start with the city of Chester. So they are looking to focus on micro businesses. So these are businesses that are 5 or fewer employees. The loan amounts the grant amounts, forgive me, and it's totally forgivable, will be a minimum of $2,500 up to $5,000 based on the need. Right now, they have set aside about $50,000 to work on this program. They will focus on both home-based as well as brick and mortar businesses. And as I said, the funds will be used for COVID-related expenses. So these would be expenses such as rent that was incurred during the shutdown period. Also, it can be used for salaries, or as well as restocking supplies in order for them to reopen as a result of being closed for COVID. If the business has applied for other COVID-related resources, they can apply for this program as well, but they can't double dip, meaning that you can't apply to use these funds for the same funds that the same reasons that you use other sources. An example would be, so you applied for them for other resources to cover your rent. So you can't apply for rent here, but you could apply for salaries with this program as well. It is not going to be first come, first served basis. I can assure you of that. So the applications, once the program goes live, the applications will be posted to both the City of Chester site as well as our website, and we will be receiving applications. It'll be a application period, and most likely it'll be about a 2-week period. You will be able to obtain technical assistance with the application process through myself and others at Entrepreneur Works to make sure that you're completing the application. Again, as others, we're keeping it as simple as possible To prepare for that, I would say, again, get your tax return. We'll be asking for the most recent tax return, either the 2018 or 2019 return. Businesses that will not be eligible will be businesses that are, as mentioned before, that are illegal. No adult entertainment businesses, no financial businesses, so someone who's making loans. We will not look at that. We will not be able to do real estate development businesses, those kinds of businesses. But again, as things are finalized, that full list will be uploaded as well, so you'll be able to see. And this is geared towards for-profit businesses. So that's pretty much the overview there as far as the eligibility. And then as the applications come in, they will be scored against what the city is determined to be their requirements, as they are required to report back to HUD. They will also look at businesses who, well, the business owner will be certified as either a low to moderate income individual or a business that provides low to moderate income jobs. And those certifications are set up by HUD. Flipping over to Upper Darby Township. So again, this program will be geared towards businesses located within Upper Darby Township and geared more specifically in what has been, again, determined by HUD to be low to moderate income census tracts within Upper Darby Township. Also, the grant amount will be $2,500. They have set aside about $350,000 for this program. This program will also not be first come, first serve. Once the application goes live, it will be on the township's website, and you will be able to download it and apply, and then the completed applications will then be submitted directly to the township first. You will have to make sure that you are current on any current township business taxes, having your licenses up to date, so you can begin to work on that as well. So that will be pretty much the first review to make sure that that is the case when they receive the applications, and then they will then be submitted to us for the scoring process. And then once the applications are approved, then the disbursements will be handled by Upper Darby Township, and there will be an agreement that the business owner will have to sign to make sure that they are agreeing to the fact that the Upper Darby Township will then follow up with the business to make sure that the reasons that they say they're using the grant funds for are being followed through with the township. The same rule applies as far as being current on any city taxes and licenses, that those same rules will apply with the city of Chester as well. So they will review the applications as they come in initially to make sure that that is the case. If you're not current with the city of Chester on any tax payments, we will also accept if you're under an agreement with them as well. So that's pretty much the overview. Again, as I said, they are both municipalities are finalizing all of the details as we speak. They're looking to hopefully go live with these programs the beginning of July. But as soon as that has been finalized, and they're hoping that to be done within the week, then we will make sure that that information goes directly, is posted on their websites, our websites, as well as we will get that information to both the county and the chamber to make sure that everybody, you know, is aware of the process. So as far as the application process goes, they will have to apply directly through either the city of Chester or Upper Darby Township. That will be the first stop. And with the completed app, you can download the application as well as the income certification. You'll be able to download directly from their sites as well, complete it, return it with what's required, and then they will do the initial review to make sure that everything is up to date business-wise, and then they will then forward it to us to pick up the ball from there. But in the interim, any questions, any concerns, any technical assistance, we will be there at Entrepreneur Works to help the applicants through that process. So that's pretty much it. Oh, one other thing I can add is on both jurisdictions, they are anticipating that they probably will do more than one round of this program.
Tony, thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Elaine. You want to offer any closing remarks before we end today?
I just want to say thank you, first of all, to everyone that has participated in this, and especially to the Chamber, who have been working, I know, in overdrive on all of the different avenues that we have been working on. So thank you. And I want to encourage everyone on this call to continue to pay attention and continually get on the Chamber's website. You know, every day there's new information through all of the different funding agencies, through the governor's orders. It's an ever-changing landscape. And we are all doing our best to try and translate for our businesses so that we can help you maximize the support you're getting from the state, from the federals, from the county, from the townships. There is a lot of support out there. It's just you have to pay attention and really put some effort into navigating it. And we're trying to help you do that. So thanks again, and everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you. Take care.